Donald Trump is having a meltdown because CBS News had an interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene was interviewed on 60 Minutes, which is a part of CBS News. And Donald Trump is mad because there were things that were said that hurt his feelings. And now he is demanding an apology. I cannot make this up. Let's start off with this statement from him, and then we'll get into this interview. So here we have it, folks. Shout out to Maine, who shared this. Trump wants an apology from CBS because Marjorie Taylor Greene hurt his feelings. Oh, no. Boo-hoo. The only reason Marjorie Trader Greene turns brown under stress went bad is that she was jilted by the president of the United States, excuse me. Certainly not the first time that she's been jilted. Too much work, not enough time, and her ideas are now really bad. She sort of reminds me of a rotten apple. Marjorie is not America First or MAGA because nobody could have ever changed her views so fast, and her new views are those of a very dumb person. This sounds like a sixth grader wrote this. It sounds like someone who's like 12 years old wrote this. This is really bad. That was proven last night when washed up Trump-hating 60 Minutes correspondent Leslie Stahl, who still owes me an apology for when she attacked me on the show with serious conviction that Hunter Biden's laptop from hell was produced by Russia, not Hunter himself. Totally proven wrong. Interviewed a very poorly prepared traitor who was in her confusion, made many really stupid statements. My real problem with the show, however, wasn't the low IQ traitor. It was that the new ownership of 60 Minutes, Paramount, would allow a show like this to air. They are no better than the old ownership who just paid me millions of dollars for fake reporting about your favorite president, me. Since they brought it, 60 Minutes has actually gotten worse. Oh, well, far worse things can happen. P.S. I hereby demand a complete and total apology. Jesus Christ. Though far too late for being meaningful, from Leslie Stahl in 60 Minutes for her incorrect libelous statements about Hunter Biden's laptop. Donald Trump. Let's go ahead and get into this interview, ladies and gentlemen. What I found interesting about this is that Marjorie Taylor Greene does reveal some of the things that happen behind the scenes. And of course, Donald Trump doesn't like that. But what that also shows you is that Donald Trump supported Barry Weiss being the editor-in-chief at CBS News so that his agenda could be pushed, right? And that's what he wants, and that's what he expects. So now he's pissed at them. I'm telling you guys, we live in a cartoon. Let's get into this.
Does Greene's defection signal a split in MAGA? Is she leaving politics for good? And exactly why is she leaving?
It wasn't a decision that I came to lightly, but it was a very important decision for myself and also for my family.
It was sudden.
It was sudden, but a lot of things changed. I stood for women who were raped when they were 14 years old, and the president that I fought for 5 years called me a traitor for that. And so that changed the landscape of things.
So I'm going to ask you straight out. Mm-hmm. Did you surrender? Did Donald Trump run you out of town?
No, not at all. Actually, Leslie, it's more like this is I said in my statement, I will be no one's battered wife, and I meant it. And I won't allow the system to abuse me anymore.
You really feel abused. You know, he did come after you pretty hard. He called you a lunatic, I'm quoting. He said all she does is complain, complain, complain in caps, and then he called you a traitor. So he hit you, whacked you.
Yes, he did this in the same time span where President Trump brought in the Al-Qaeda leader that was wanted by the U.S. government, who is now the president of Syria. Then within a week, he brought in the Crown Prince, MBS, who murdered an American journalist. And then he brought in the newly elected Democrat socialist mayor of New York. That was the time span that he called me a traitor.
So now you're hearing more, folks. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is sticking by her decision to support the release of the Epstein files, right? And she is one of the few. her and Thomas Massey. All the other Republicans in Congress did not go forward with that, as much as they claimed they, wanted to protect women. And it just shows you how people are bought and how they are corrupt. And what is also interesting about this conversation is that she calls out Donald Trump choosing to bring in certain bad actors like Jolani, who is now the president of Syria. We know the U.S. government, both parties supported that takeover there. Assad was kicked out under the Biden presidency at the very end. Donald Trump supported that. Jolani comes in, and again, right, Jolani was a part of Al Qaeda. I don't know why the U.S. government pretends as though people are just supposed to pretend that he wasn't, and they forgot about this. Also, the prince, who, yes, did murder an American journalist. Now, he brought in Zoran because, again, like, New York City does get a lot of money from the federal government, and they have something they're trying to do there. I talked about that, the meeting that happened between Zoran and President Trump. And Donald Trump seemed to be very smitten by Zoran. And like I told you back then, I believe that is because they have a mutual agreement among each other that Donald Trump can accomplish some of his agenda in New York City under Zoran's mayorship. So there's a lot of things that's happening here. But the point that Marjorie Taylor Greene is making is that she is still MAGA. Like, she really wants to make America great again. And it is actually Donald Trump who abandoned his position and his issues. And I think it's important for people to hear that distinction. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene has moved in different ways. Like, I never thought that she would be for helping people when it comes to healthcare. I never thought that she would, even with the Epstein files, she didn't toe the party line. She's like, no, I said I would stand up for these women, and I'm continuing to do that, even though Donald Trump doesn't want me to do it. And what we have ultimately seen in the past, and I've seen this with both parties, is that when you do go against party leadership, there are efforts to remove you from that seat. And you could look at the Democratic Party, and you saw that happen with Cori Bush, that happened with Jamal Bowman. Back in the day, that happened with Dennis Kucinich. He wasn't willing to follow leadership, so they redrew his district so that he didn't have one. So it's happened on both sides, and I think that speaks to the issue with this uniparty here.
You decided not to stay and fight. You decided to give in.
After President Trump called me a traitor, I got a pipe bomb threat on my house, and then I got several direct death threats on my son.
On your son?
On my son.
On her son. So remember when I covered her announcement that she was resigning from Congress? And I was trying to come up with reasons as to why I thought that could have been. And one of the things that I said is maybe, like, her family had been threatened, and now she is agreeing. Now she's telling people that was one of the issues. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I know a number of people wanted her to stay in and continue fighting. When they come after your family, when they come after your children, that hits home. And I wouldn't expect anybody to push back against that. Like, when they come after your kids, and that was one of the guesses that I had. I thought, like, maybe they came after her family. Like, remember, she has children, and now you're hearing directly from her. That was one of the issues. So obviously she doesn't want anything to happen, to her kids. But that is the lowest of the low. How dare you? And I'd say that for anybody. And I said this before, when it comes to politicians, the children are off limits. For you to go after someone's kids, they're innocent in all this. That is not okay. Not okay at all. So obviously she's going to look out for her family. Now, some may wonder what this is mean for her future in politics. I don't know. Because depending on which way she chooses to go, they could also still come after her kids. Now, she could run for that gubernatorial race in Georgia. There's still time for her to file for that if that's what she wants to do. But ultimately, I think that she is not going to risk her family being threatened or attacked again. So maybe she might look for something, more towards a lower level position, something a little bit more local. Maybe she might look towards that. I will say being a governor and being a congressperson are two different things. As the governor, I think you have a little bit more power over what you can do. And when you're a congressperson, I mean, you're in the House, and if your party is not in the majority, there's only so much you can do. But ultimately, you are beholden to the party leadership. And when you go against it, they try to get you out.
You say the president put your life in danger. You blame him. You say he fueled a hotbed of threats against me, and that you blame him for the threats against your son.
The subject line for the direct death threats on my son was his words, Marjorie Trader Greene. Those
So
are death threats directly fueled by President Trump. I told him, I told JD Vance, I told them all, sent those directly to them.
Response?
JD Vance replied back to me, we'll look into it. I got response back from President Trump that I will keep private, but it wasn't very nice.
So that means they're not going to do anything. That whole jargon, we'll look into it. That means they're not going to do it. JD Vance isn't going to do anything. He's not going to go against Donald Trump because he has his own political aspirations. That's just something that people tell you. It sounds like something HR would say too, like, we'll look into it. They're not really looking into nothing. They're not just, it's just a way to brush you off. I'm curious as to what Donald Trump said, because she said she's not going to say that. So it's probably really nasty.
Give us a hint of what the president said.
It was extremely unkind.
Her life is in danger? Who's that?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, he says.
Marjorie Trader Greene. I don't think her life is in danger. Frankly, I don't think anybody cares about her.
4 more years.
This new intense vitriol between them is jarring, considering she's been one of the president's most passionate and loyal foot soldiers, often in a red MAGA hat. She voted with him 98% of the time.
We're going to re-elect our favorite president, the greatest president in United States history, Donald J. Trump. Right, Georgia?
One of the president's biggest beefs with Greene was about her harping on Jeffrey Epstein.
We did talk about the Epstein files, and he was extremely angry at me that I had signed the discharge petition to release the files. I fully believe that those women deserve everything they're asking. They're asking for all of it to come out. They deserve it. And he was furious with me.
What did he say?
He said that it was going to hurt people.
It's supposed to. This is hilarious. Oh, no, don't do that. It's going to hurt people. It's supposed to. It's supposed to hold people accountable. And what people is he talking about? People like him? It's going to hurt him? It's going to hurt him and his friends? So Donald Trump, I still don't understand as of today how people can still defend and support Donald Trump. Donald Trump is telling you basically so much to your face that he wanted to protect the rich and the powerful people who were trafficking underage girls across the world. This is a global network. He wants to protect that. So this is why I said, do not come to me with no, and that's for everybody. Don't come to me with no, we care about the kids. We're the party of family values. You lost all that. You lost all that when you decided to go along with Donald Trump. When it came to this Epstein situation, you lost all of that, all of it, all of those journalists who continue to defend Donald Trump on this particular issue. You do not get to go around anymore and say how you are the party of family values. You lost that. It's gone. Period. Ay, ay, ay.
I had asked him, these women are the ones that were hurt. They were raped at 14. They were raped at 16. I watched them stand in front of the press, trembling, their bodies shaking as they were telling their stories, many of them for the first time. And I had told him, I said, you have all kinds of people come in the White House. Have these women come in the White House. These women deserve to be heard.
He said to you, people will get hurt.
People will get hurt. I don't know what that means. I don't know who they are.
I know who they are, because this the thing. All you got to do, guys, read Whitney Webb's book, One Nation Under Blackmail, Volume 1 and Volume 2, because Whitney put this all out on Front Street years ago. So Donald Trump is protecting people within his orbit, his billionaire orbit. I just told you about the lawsuit against him, Bill Gates, and Elon Musk in Florida, which a lot of people are not talking about. So he is entangled in this. And whether he did anything to these women or not is beside the point. He's mixed up in it. And he's been caught in a number of lies. He's been caught in lies about when he ended his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, as those emails have shown us that he was still friends with Jeffrey Epstein. It could hurt people. Ay, ay, ay.
There were other clashes with the president. She started publicly criticizing him in May on one issue after the next, accusing him of betraying his MAGA America First promises. You went after his, I think you said, trying to entangle us in foreign wars. You said Air Force One should be parked, no more foreign trips.
For an America First president, the number one focus should have been domestic policy, and it wasn't. And so, of course, I was critical because those were my campaign promises. Once we fix everything here, then fine, we'll talk to the rest of the world.
She said in her resignation video that the president has gone establishment, forsaking the base and her.
If I am cast aside by the president and the MAGA political machine and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, military-industrial war complex, foreign leaders, and the elite donor class.
Are you saying that the president now is siding with those establishment powerful people and against MAGA?
He passed a crypto bill that helped out all the crypto donors. He has served Israel's interest, even attacking Iran. He has served Big Pharma. He didn't take away the COVID vaccines that we want to see taken away. So those are the areas that are still getting everything they want, while the people, we're still out here saying we want to see action on areas for the American people.
Yeah, and this is a number of things that I think a lot of us called out, right? That he said, people run on one thing, but then when they win, they continue to serve the establishment, status quo, et cetera. Donald Trump knows that economic populism actually works. He knows that running on those things can actually help you, but he also knows that he's not going to do it when he gets in office. Right. So he said the right things to win, and then he gets there. And of course, he is bowing down to his donors like Miriam Adelson, and of course, the military industrial complex, and also Wall Street, just like all the ones who came before him. And this is why, and I hope people really understand this going forward. This is why I could not vote for him or Kamala Harris, because they are both beholding to the donor class. And I just got to ask you guys a question. Going into 2028, can we all just make an agreement not to vote for any candidate taking money from the Israeli lobby? Not to vote for any candidate taking money from AIPAC, Kufi, J Street, not to vote for candidates taking money from the billionaire donor class. Like, can we make an agreement on this? And when I said this in 2024, a lot of people were like upset with me. And they're like, no, oh my God, we got to do this. We got to do this. Yeah, there are certain things that Kamala Harris would not have done that Donald Trump is doing. And vice versa. But at the end of the day, they both benefit the establishment. And that's the point I was trying to get across in 2024. I really think we really need a change. And so what I hope for those who are disappointed with Donald Trump, I hope this pushes more people to break away from the system, to build dual power on the local level in your communities, whether that's mutual aid, whether that's direct action, whether that's, organizing in other ways. Maybe getting some of you out there to run for local politics like city council. City council matters. They control the budget. So don't you think that that's a nothing position? It actually does matter. Get some of these people to run for mayor. I don't know. But I think that a lot of these wins that we want to happen are going to happen on the local level. That is what I've seen living in Massachusetts. A lot of the wins have happened on the local level. So I hope this really does wake people up. Please, going into 2028, guys, please, let's just make an agreement not to support these candidates who are taking money from the big donors and the Israeli lobby.
Not for the major industries and the big donors.
Greene has built her reputation on feisty combat and inflammatory insults, like calling President Joe Biden a liar during the 2023 State of the Union. It's been 5 years of almost constant drama.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
With her adding fuel to the nation's loss of civility. Then, 3 weeks ago, she went on CNN with a surprise, a mea culpa.
And I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics.
But it became clear to us that she hasn't entirely lost her appetite for combat.
It's the most toxic political culture, and it's not helping the American
But you
people.
contributed to that.
That's the part. Yeah, you contributed to a lot of that. You know, and if I had the chance to interview Marjorie Taylor Greene, and not that I don't even know how to get in touch with Marjorie Taylor Greene, but if I interviewed her, I would have to ask her about that. I would have to ask her, like, why did you feed into a lot of that? You know, I still remember when after October 7th, I remember Marjorie Taylor Greene was, yelling against the protesters that were protesting, the pro-Palestinian protesters that were protesting against the genocide in Gaza. I remember she was on video yelling against them, and she called it an insurrection and all this type of stuff. And then also I want to add to something that she said about Donald Trump fueling those threats against her. Let's all go back to January 6th and remember that was the case that a lot of people were trying to make, is that he fueled that he spoke rhetoric that incited people and fueled them to do what they did. Now, yes, there's video footage of, policemen just opening up the gate and letting the people come in. We've talked about that as well. But I feel like when we were saying that back then, I feel like people were just like, no, not Trump. He didn't do anything wrong. He's perfect. He's our hero. He's our savior. And I hope this teaches people that politicians are not heroes. They're not saviors. And I just hope people start to realize that more and more. Politicians can disappoint.
You were out there pounding, insulting people.
Leslie, you've contributed to it as well with your
Me?
own program. Yes, you're accusatory, just like you did just then.
I know you're accusing me, but I'm smiling.
You're accusing me.
I am accusing
But we
you.
don't have to accuse one another.
I want you to respond to what you have done in terms of insulting people, yelling at people, and then saying,
I'd like for you to respond for that.
I don't-
No, you can respond to that.
I don't insult people.
You do, in the way you question, and you're accusing me right now.
one thing she did want to.
But she should have responded to that. She should have responded to that, because the thing is like, yeah, I mean, you have to speak on that. Why did you play into that? Why did you feed into it? So if I interviewed her, I would ask her about that. I think some people who are doing these interviews with these politicians, I think they're playing a little bit too nice. And that's why you don't see a lot of them come on this show.
Talk about Congress's failure to pass spending bills, meaning that she has found it hard to get funds for projects in her district.
It's an utter failure, not just to the people in my district, but every district across the country.
We met Greene, 51, in her district in Georgia. Before Congress, she ran her family's construction company, then opened up her own CrossFit gym.
Affordability is a real issue.
President says it's not, says it's a hoax, affordability.
It's one of the top issues, not only in my district, it's across the country.
The affordability of health insurance caused Greene to side with the Democrats during the government shutdown to support extending health care subsidies. Did you ever imagine that you would be standing with the Democrats on the Epstein files and on health care subsidies?
No, I never imagined that.
She's not afraid to be an outlier. She's the only Republican member of Congress to call the war in Gaza a genocide. And why did you vote against the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act?
Since I've been a member of Congress, we've had several resolutions that constantly denounce anti-Semitism. I've already voted denouncing anti-Semitism many times before. It becomes an exercise that they force on Congress, and I simply got tired of it.
Is there no value in having the United States Congress reaffirm the fact that they denounce anti-Semitism in the face of a growing issue, a growing problem?
We don't have to get on our knees and say it over and over again when we
Get on our
already.
knees.
Yes, we do not have to get on our knees.
Well, most members of Congress disagree with you.
Well, most members of Congress take donations from AIPAC, and I don't.
Now that's a really good point to bring up there. Yeah, they've been beating a dead horse with this. And like I told you, I never saw them move this way for other groups in this country. I don't see these constant bills coming forward, for Black people in this country. I don't see these constant bills coming forward for the indigenous population in this country. So it's just very obvious what is happening here. And that's a good punch back there from her. Oh, Leslie don't like it.
AIPAC is an American pro-Israel lobbying group. Greene's perspective indicates a growing rift within MAGA over support for Israel. Are you MAGA?
I am America first.
And that's not the same as MAGA.
MAGA is President Trump's phrase. That's his political policies. I call myself America first.
But you're not saying you're MAGA.
I'm America first. Yep.
God bless you, President Trump. Thank
Almost overnight, she's gone from a close Trump friend to foe, one of the few Republicans willing to take him on. I'm going to ask you about this almost solid support he has among Republicans in Congress. Is there in that support fear? Does the support come about because they're afraid that they'll get death threats?
I think they're terrified to step out of line and get a nasty Truth Social post on them. Yes.
Leslie, come on. I think you know the answer to your own question there. Oh boy.
And they're watching what happened to you.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, do they talk differently?
Yes.
How?
Oh, it would shock people.
Well, let's shock people.
Okay. I watched many of my colleagues go from making fun of him, making fun of how he talks, making fun of me constantly for supporting him, to when he won the primary in 2024, they all started, excuse my language, Leslie, kissing his ass and decided to put on a MAGA hat for the first time.
And let's break it down real simple.
This past week, when we saw Greene at a public hearing in her district without a MAGA hat, it didn't appear that her break from President Trump and MAGA has cost her popularity.
So that was interesting there. So you got some Republican politicians who say one thing behind closed doors and then publicly, of course, offer their support to Donald Trump. And that just goes to show you the theatrics of it all. A lot of these politicians are actors. I would say some of them are probably wanted to be actors, but decided politics was the next best thing. So it's an act. It's a performance. And they're on stage and we're in the audience. And she says she is not MAGA. She says she's America first. So she's already separating herself from that.
People want to know, is this a true conversion, a true change of heart, or is it kind of a shrewd political calculation? A lot of people think you're doing it and that you in a year or so are going to run for some other office.
I have zero plans, zero desire to run for president. I would hate the Senate. I'm not running for governor. But Leslie, it doesn't matter how many times I say it. I'll have face-to-face conversations with people and I'll flat out tell them to their face and they won't believe me. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. And they wink at me and I'm like, okay. It's just like I don't know how to make it more clear.
You mean you just jumped off the cliff and you don't know where you're going to swim to?
Surprise, surprise. I'm not your politician with a whole itinerary of plans or political ambitions.
And the thing is, she could change her mind down the road. We never know. But ultimately, a lot of people don't tell you what their plans are this early anyway. But maybe she might, who knows? She might start a podcast. Maybe she might go into like the media space. I guess she wouldn't be on corporate media, though, considering she's not supporting Donald Trump. Like Fox News wouldn't take her in because she doesn't back Trump. So I don't know, but maybe she's just waiting for, what is going to come her way. Maybe she's just open to different opportunities. But I could see her kind of going into like maybe the podcast space or that type of thing. Yeah, man, this is the political world. This is politics. And this is the thing about the hold that the leadership has on these parties. And when you go out of line, when you step out of line, they're going to try to get you out of there. And I just hope that this whole experience shows people just how corrupt this system is. I think that's the important thing to take away. Whether you support Marjorie Taylor Greene or not, what I want you to take away from this experience is that politics is inherently corrupt. And what we have to fight back against is that corruption. And we're not going to beat that corruption by supporting people that are beholden to the donor class and supporting people that are also beholden to the Israeli lobby. That's not how you fight back against the corruption. So going into 2028, can we all just agree not to support candidates that are taking money from the Israeli lobby, that are taking, money from the big donors, billionaires, etc., and that are in bed with the military industrial complex? Can we all just make that agreement? Please. Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.